Hi, I'm Lisa. I wanted to thank Stephanie for letting me participate in Multicultural Stamping Day. So I'm going to make a fun fold card today. I'm using Plentiful Plants, the stamp set that's from the new annual catalog, along with the Perfect Plant dies and the Bloom Where You're Planted DSP. This is a really fun suite that I'm thrilled about being a plant person. But also it reminds me of my nieces. My brother's a horticulturist, so his daughters have been raised around gardens and plants their entire life. My grandma was also an avid gardener and had a greenhouse. So plant life is a big deal for our family. Stephanie also created some great, with the document, some fun things to do with being an aunt and, along with the other family members, but I'm kind of excited because someone has to be the crazy aunt. That's what I'll be putting on the back of some of these cards. As well as these, I wanted to show how these, the Auntie cut out really well with our current punches. And there's such a variety of ways that we can use these. So I'm just gonna move these out of the way. The fun fold that I'm going to do is sometimes it's referred to as a sidestep card, I believe. And it sits up similar to like an easel card. So the first thing we're going to start with, let me just move these things. And the ink colors that I'm going to be using are soft succulent and smoky slate. And the DSP, not the DSP, the cardstock that I'm starting off with is Evening Evergreen. So these are all found in the current annual catalog. First, we're going to score. Well, first, you're going to cut down your paper to 5.5 by 8. We're going to be scoring then at 3. And I always have to remember to use my top scoring blade instead of my cutter. 6 is the next score line. And then at 7 inches. After you've scored, you're going to do a mountain fold on the first from 3 to 6. So you'll line that up and use your bone folder to get a nice crease so it becomes a mountain fold with the peak at the top. Then come down to your 6. And that will create the valley. So mountain valley. And then the last fold down is going to be your mountain fold. This creates the base of your card and it also will allow it to stand up. So that's what it looks like from the side view. Next, you're going to use a strip of DSP. I am using the In Color 2123 DSP packet, comes in a 6x6 size. And you're going to trim that down to 2 7/8, by 7/8 by 5 3/8. And this we're going to attach right along the front here. And unfortunately, I have run out of seal and I'm still waiting on my order to come. I live just outside of Salt Lake City and I'm about 10 miles from the home office. So that's it's been fun. I've gone to visit there to see how things are. But it's also nice when it comes to getting packages, even though we still get delayed. And I'm just noticing there's some fuzz from my paper cutter. So I'm just going to trim that off. So once you've attached your DSP, you're going to now do the back panel. The back panel is going to be 2 7/8 by 5 3/8. And then I cut down about a 2-inch by 2.5-inch piece of coordinating DSP, and I'm using the Sentiment You Go Girl. This is a card that is one that I can send to my nieces. I have a 13-year-old, no, she's actually just turned 14, a 5-year-old and a almost 3-year-old niece. 2 live out of state, so I don't do a lot of stamping with them, but the 14-year-old, I started stamping with her quite early on. And she really enjoys it. Partly I did that because she always wanted to do what I was doing. So I created her own little area and her own set of stamps and ink. I'm just going to add some texture here with these leaves, just for some interest in the back. I'm using the soft succulent. So I'm doing tone on tone. And then I will adhere the background. Pretty much center. I eyeball a lot of things and I just hope they're straight. And then I'll attach the sentiment. Now this past year, school year, was extremely difficult for the 8th grader. And being a teacher myself, it was really hard to see how much she struggled. Our district did a lot of online learning, and man, it was rough. And I had my 3rd graders on Zoom and in person, both modalities, and starting February. So I am finally on summer break. So I'm very glad the school year is over, just to have that mental break, and so we can kind of regroup as a family too. So I'm going to stick this down. I didn't do a very good job with the border, but again, you need to go. I'll have to go back and fix that. Oh, please. And you can also do it in quarters instead of 8ths if you like a wider border. No, it's a little crumpled, but it will still be okay. Isn't there always something that goes wrong when you're doing live videos, right? The next step, so that's going to be the base, and when it's down, that's the message that she'll see. The next step is to have a piece of cardstock that is 3 by 6 inches. This is going to be the pop-up part in the fun fold, and I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. Scoring it allows us to have a fold in. Again, I'll grab the bone folder. I'm working in a pretty compact space. I still haven't converted my craft area back to a craft area after teaching. So that's going to go here, and I'm thinking I probably should move this over a little bit. It's not the best eyeball on my part. Luckily, the adhesive is pretty forgiving there. So with this piece, I'm going to attach it to the bottom here. And you're going to leave the top free for right now. So we'll do the adhesive down here after I attach the DSP. So this piece of DSP is just shorter than the 3 by 6. So it should be 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 by 5 3/4 maybe. Anywhere around there, 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, or anywhere around there. Again, you do what you like with the border. And I'm just going to attach this here. I love the DSP because obviously everything coordinates, but they thought of all of the different aspects between the pots and plants and just the whole gardening point. When one of my friends looked at, she's like, wow, those are a lot of mugs. And I'm like, actually, they're pots. So I figure I'd need to put a plant on the front of it. I don't think I cut this exactly right. I'm going to try and center this better. Now, this is the first time I've ever made a stamping video, so just bear with me here. All those nerves come out, right? So I decided to use the die cuts, but I also wanted another piece of DSP to anchor. I just thought it was floated a little too much, and I thought that the brick would be a good anchor. This, and I can hopefully do a better job here centering it, right? And I use dimensionals to pop up the pot, the bullet planter. With that plant stand. I'm going to kind of anchor it so it has a seat to sit on. And then the plant will just kind of be flat, and it's okay if it hangs out of the border of the brick. I'm going to stick that in here. This could also be using the ant one. If I sent this to my little sister, she and I are both fun ants. We both are cat moms and have pets. So we definitely spoil our girls. So this could also go here, and you could put the plant over on this side. I might have to do that for her as a housewarming gift. She's moving. Next, you're going to just put your adhesive along the base here, and I'm just going to do 2 strips. I want that to anchor the seal. I love the Seal Plus, and have really enjoyed using that. So I'm just going to line this up exactly at the bottom. So when this pops up, that's what we're looking at here. And on the back, you're just going to do a tiny, tiny bit of adhesive. There's not going to be much that holds on to the back. So put the adhesive just a really thin row along the top and fold it down flat. And I can see I have a little bench that I'm just going to rub off there. So rub it really well, because this is what holds the card together so it stands up. So it will be kind of an easel step up card. And then I'm going to add, you could add a ribbon. I like these holiday rhinestone basic jewels. I like the green tone, so I'm just going to pull a few here. And I like doing kind of a triangle pattern. And I tend to stick to using groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3. I try not to overthink it, or that makes it too confusing for me sometimes. And I think I'm going to just trim down, because somebody has to be the crazy aunt and sign it with my name. So the girls call me Auntie Lisa. My oldest niece, we just went along with what she called them. I've raised her since she was about 1.5 years. And so my parents and I, she calls my dad Grampy, and my mom Anna. We never call their grandparents by grandma or grandpa, because it made them feel old. And my grandma lasted until she was 90 and my grandpa 95. So she's followed that tradition of calling my mom Anna, and I'm Lisa. And then I left some space to write here just so they can read it. Being that Alex is only 5, she can read, but I'm noticing here you can't see the stamps as much here, but if you were to open it, or maybe not use that layer. But that is a fairly simple in terms of there's not a lot of parts to make it a fancy fold for just the basic structure. Again, when you go to put this in the envelope, it will fit perfectly. I have another version I made here, and it fits perfectly. I actually did some swaps. I was inspired by this, and it fits perfectly in a plastic envelope, and it will fit perfectly inside of a mailing envelope. So it will arrive in perfect condition. And then this, I thought You Go Girl could be just something that can sit on their dresser, or, in the girls area, just something to look at, because, we're always growing just like plants, and we have to take care of ourselves to stay well, just like plants. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day stamping and participating in Stephanie's event. Thanks again.